Please come to order. Councilor Crittenden, would you lead us in invocation?
Father, I just want to come to you today and thank you for another day you've given us, Lord, and just go with us as we do the business of the people. Be sure to thank you for all things, and most of all for Jesus. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Shelley, roll call. Mary Baker Shaw. Ani. Mike Dobbins.
Here.
Bill England.
Honey.
Keith Austin. Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Joe Bird.
Honey.
Sean Crittenden.
Honey.
Shannon Duncan.
Honey.
Wanda Hatfield. Rex Jordan. Dick Lake. Mike Shamrock.
Here.
Gil Smith.
Here.
Denise Taylor. Here. Victoria Vesquez.
Ani.
David Walkenstick.
Honey.
Brian Moore.
Honey.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes? So
Motion may be approved.
Second.
motion made and
Sorry.
seconded. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, reports. Claremore Service Unit. Good afternoon, George. Valure. Yeah, George, how did you come up with Valure for your last name?
Long story.
It's a beautiful name. Is it French?
We were traders there for a long time, remember? French traders.
You have my report in your packet. Just some numbers here. We had, in dental, we had 775 visits in the month of June. We took care of 167 diabetic education visits. The lab had just under 2,500 patient visits. The pharmacy filled 26,832 outpatient prescriptions. Physical therapy had 174 patient encounters. Along with that, we're nearing the completion of the renovation of the emergency room. We should have that should be completed within the next few weeks. When we do, we're planning something small there, have a little open house. I'll send invitations out and let you know when we're having that, and invite you down to come see our new renovation. We're pretty proud of that. Other than that, any questions?
Yes, Counselor Taylor.
On your collections, George, are you guys actually up $1.5 million?
Yes.
Wow, good job.
We're actually on, if things continue the way they have been, we should beat 30 million. We should top 30 million this year.
Awesome. Good job. Keep up the good work.
Counselor Austin.
Yes. He called it a ER renovation. I had the good fortune of doing a tour of it about 2 weeks ago while they are fine-tuning construction at the very end here. And a renovation is an understatement. That's a rebirth. It's not a renovation. That's so much better than it's ever been in the history of that place. And I'm really, really grateful for the people who use your facility.
Thank you.
So thank you for leading that.
You bet.
Anyone else?
I have a comment. Mr. Vallier, on the neurosurgeons, do you contract that out to Tulsa, or do you have some on staff?
No, sir, that would be contracted out.
Okay.
I don't know who that is right off the top of my head, but I can find out for you.
All right, thanks, sir.
You bet.
I have a question. I noticed that your admissions were down 18.8%, that you had 52. May I ask how many beds you have?
44.
44. Thank you, I didn't know that. Out of the 44 beds, how many of those are OB?
8.
8? And ICU?
6.
Thank you, I've never asked that. Nice to know. Well, your figures look really impressive. I was surprised to see the number of patient visits at 24,570. That's a lot of patients.
Yes, it is.
And, anyway, very good. Anybody else with any questions? Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming by and seeing us, and we're looking forward to going to that open house.
Good. Glad to see you.
Thank you. Dr. Jones.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You should have your report in your packet. I'll just hit some highlights on it, and I have a few things I want to add to it. Look over at our provider recruitment. Again, we're staying consistently around that 5 to 6%. And then the benchmarks to the side there. If you'll notice under contract health, I think that number in the red was quite a bit higher than that earlier in the year, and I told you it would kind of wind down as we got closer, as the obligated funds that we had, the money that we got out there as they third-party payers pay, then some of that money comes back that we obligated. So you can see that number starting to come down some. It's still a little bit out of our normal budget, but but it has come down quite a bit since I started this in January. The approval rate on our referrals, 97.1. I think last month it was 96.5, so you saw that went up just a little bit. And as far as visits go, every one of our clinics is a little bit higher, except for Hastings was a little bit down, and dental was a little bit down for this month. But our revenue combined, we're ahead of where we were last year, about $6 million. And then as far as prescriptions go, Counselor Buzzard, you'd asked a couple of questions about that. We're still working on that issue in J. It's not actually what it reads here. It's more of a training issue. I kind of went over that with you. So we're getting people trained on how to properly put those in so that they register the correct way and not as a new prescription. Okay. So, and over on the delivered per quarter, looks like everything except Oshaleda's kind of stayed steady. Almost come down just a little bit, but everybody else has either gone up or stayed steady. So, a couple of things I wanted to talk about a little bit. The joint venture building that we're at that point now where a lot of equipment's being installed. I think we had an article came out in the Phoenix where I talked about, I think we've hired about 100 people already for this year on 19, and we're looking at another several hundred for 20. We're still making adjustments according to how staffing will be on what we'll need, so we're leaving ourselves a little wiggle room there on what we want to add and take away in 20. So there may be some modifications as the year goes by in 20 once you guys approve that budget to as we recognize there's staff needed in certain areas. The MRI machine got delivered week before last, so that was a big event for us, seeing that thing come in, and they've started installing that, and that'll require a lot of additional training and expertise, so we're looking for getting all that set up. Once you have an MRI machine in your facility, it really zones out what people can be around what areas. So even as administrators, if we don't have the correct training, we can't go in those areas. So we're looking at setting all those trainings up now and getting everybody trained. One of the things that we're doing different this year that I don't think has been done before was during orientation. This is something I want to kind of explain, that the orientation is not just for new counselors, but it's for everyone. We're going to have a specific time set aside for health on the 23rd. There's 2 different sessions, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. You'll be there about 3 hours, and you'll have an opportunity to learn all the things about health or highlights about health that you haven't had an opportunity to learn before. And at the end of that, there'll be a tour of the new building. So we're actually going to house that in the joint venture facility at the conference room there. So you'll get a chance to tour it. Okay? So I encourage everyone to come to that, because we've put a lot of work into breaking it down in all the different areas of health so that we can do some question and answers, and you can get some personal questions answered with contract health, with compensation, with a lot of the different aspects of health that we end up talking about here that we don't get time to really go into. Okay? And after that, I'll open it up for questions.
Counselor Vasquez.
Yes. Under highlights, Dr. Jones, what does super users mean?
Those are people that are trained that are, so they're not, with our IT department, you have people that are trained specifically in certain areas, and you have a super user who is a person that's in the department, that's actually embedded in the department, that can do 80 or 90% of the day-to-day things you come up against. So we pick people out that we think have that capacity to be able to be those type of troubleshooters, and they are embedded in the department. They have other jobs, but they also do that.
Okay, thank you.
So they may be a little bit more trained than the normal person that's getting training on that.
Great, thank you. Counselor Lay?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Doc, the MRI is going to go into our new building.
Mhm.
And so how many shifts will it be operated? Just the one or what?
No, right. Well, I don't know that absolutely off the top of my head. The plan is that we will we'll see how we work when we first open up, and then we'll change things up as we go, kind of adapt to what we need. In normal facilities, those MRI machines run even on Saturdays sometimes. So if we see that and we see that there's a need for that, then we'll start adjusting our shifts accordingly. But initially, it will be running when the facility itself is open, which is Monday through Friday, 6 to 7, I believe, is our actual hours.
How many patients can you get in a shift, average?
I'll probably have to ask Dr. Montgomery that, 'cause
It's hard to answer that because some studies take longer than others, and it's just very hard to predict. On average, I think they can do 12 to 15 in a normal 8-hour shift, but it could be fewer, it could be more.
The MRI, I was kind of reading a little bit about it. Is it a big one, or they have big, small, and bigger, and open? This is a closed station.
it arrived on a semi, so it's a pretty big one. Yeah, and I think we have capacity for 2 MRI machines at our new facility. So initially to get one open, and then look at opening the other ones. So.
Will they both be similar units?
Mhm.
What about those people who can't stand going in an MRI? There's an open version. So we'll send those out.
I don't know what the plan is for that at this particular time. I can get an answer for you on that, though.
Knock you out and send you in there anyway.
Maybe so.
I'm one of those.
Yeah. If you have, I think if you've had certain things like there's certain things that you're not eligible to have an MRI. Yeah.
Counselor Shambaugh?
I've got another question.
Oh, excuse me.
Karen Ketcher, is she your replacement or just an advisor? I'm a little confused.
So Ms. Ketcher has a background in working with health policy before she was in career services, in my understanding, and looking at her CV. We've extended a contract to her to work with health as a health policy advisor. So she'll work with our government relations team and people that work on national initiatives and health policy that comes out of NIHB and things of that nature, and help us advise us on how to move forward on certain initiatives. So she's going to work in an advisory capacity.
And not that I'm trying to get rid of you, but how's the search going for
That would be a question for the chief. That would not be for me. I'm not involved in that. So.
Thank you.
Counselor Shambaugh?
So I guess our new clinic will have basically the same hours as our old clinic. What will be the hours, operating hours?
6 to 7, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. will be the operational hours. Seeing patients, because we're going to have outpatient surgeries there, so some of those will start earlier, some of them will continue later. But our intention is to have that facility operating from 6 to 7.
So I take it there'll be people housed there at night too?
Security. We won't be any overnight stays
There'll be
there.
no patients or
No
anything?
patients, because it's an outpatient facility only. The inpatients will remain at Hastings.
So anything that requires an overnight stay will be sent somewhere else?
No, we'll still remain at Hastings. We still have OR suites there. We'll still be doing surgeries at Hastings. It'll just be an inpatient facility, and the new building will be an outpatient facility.
And going back to MRIs, do you have doctors who currently, if they get contracted out to get MRI somewhere else, do we have doctors who read them at this time, or do other people read them and give us their determination on what's going on? Do we have those kind of people already, or do they have
Yes.
to be trained?
No, yes, we do. It's, we have a contract with DIA, who is a radiological, that reads radiographs. They contract with us currently on everything we do currently, and will continue to have that contract.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Counselor Crittenden?
Doctor, did I miss the report that you usually give where the questions that were asked last month? You kind of responded. Did I miss that this time?
The only two questions that I had that I didn't respond to here were about the insulin pumps, and we don't currently do those. And then there was one other one that I responded to Ms. Shaw on, but I can't remember exactly what that one was off the top of my head.
Oh, was it about the contract referral that we couldn't pay postage?
Yes, that was. And we cleared that up. It wasn't a postage issue. It was a postage machine that was down, and the wrong message stuff was lost in communication.
I appreciate you bringing that forward today, because I hope everybody hears that, because that was kind of a big deal on social media for a while.
Right.
Thank you. Yes, Counselor Crittenden.
But I really like that report.
Yeah.
I was still wanting some information on the elective procedures, you know, what that might entail.
For contract health?
Yes. And also on the contract health, I've said it before, I've got a phone number that really helps me out a whole lot, and I believe he's got the heart for the people. And I've here lately and throughout the last 4 years, there have been times I don't understand it, the people don't understand it. We'll refer someone out, which I'm sure that costs money. And several times, the recommendation for either a procedure or medication or some kind of medical equipment don't get approved. You know, we're getting this doctor's opinion on, like I say, either procedure or medication or something else, and then we're not essentially taking that advice. And you know, the first experience I had with that was with the life vest, and the person went to the doctor and they said, "Hey buddy, you better get one of these." Then we come back, and in our group decided that it wasn't really necessary. And just, do you have, and you know, I have faith in the new administration coming on and looking at some of this stuff like that. Do you have any kind of response to those kind of questions that folks have?
Well, usually if there's a recommendation like that, it's going to go through a contract health committee that will look at those things and decide what we can and cannot afford to do. Because there are limitations. We can't do everything for every single person. But normally in a situation like the live test, we've been able to find a company out there that may want to work with us and donate that. We've been able to find services for most of those people in most instances. Maybe not through our contract health dollars, but through some other program or through some other service. So it's not that it ends right there. It's just that it may take longer because we may have to go look for a different area to get the money to do that or get someone to donate that service. So it does, I would say I can't say every single time, but most of the time that I've been here anyway, we found some avenue of getting whatever that patient needs. It just may not be through contract health. It may not be where we pay for it through that funds. It may be through a different avenue.
Like I say, I've got faith in the new boys coming, but it really is an issue that people don't understand.
Right.
You know, I mean, again, paying you for your advice and what I need to do. I mean, of course, doctors aren't cheap, and then not taking that advice. There's lots of folks that don't really understand that.
And my hope is to add another level in our contract to help, a liaison, so to speak, to help patients navigate the system, that they can talk to one-on-one, that will help them work through it, rather than just being that person that's doing the paperwork as it's coming across their desk. So,
One other thing, the Stillwell Clinic, what's the status?
so the trailers are supposed to be delivered before August 30th. Some will be delivered as early as August 15th this week. And the others will be here by August 30th. And they've already started the plans on the decking and the ramps that go around the trailers to allow access into them. So as soon as they hit the ground, we're ready to start putting that together.
So those trailers will be there this month.
Right. And I met with George Long this morning, looking at GSA to get a transport vehicle to be able to transport people back and forth. I was told this last week that we may be able to get some parking area that's at the CNI. It's on the north end of town. So if that's the case, we're not going to be able to not have to transport people quite as far. So it should be cut down that time of whenever people arrive at work. And then I've asked Ms. Harris to look at trying to figure out ways to shift people in, so not everybody's hitting the parking lot at the same time, so we're not running into problems with shuttling people back and forth. So we're working on those plans now.
Looking forward to that. And drop-in doctors. Had a couple calls that they weren't available the past few weeks. So is there a problem, or is that just the normal? Somebody took off work and...
I'm not aware of it, but probably just, there's not anybody gone, so I'm assuming it's probably just somebody on leave or something like that. But I don't know of any time when they shut that down completely. I haven't been made aware of it if they have.
If you don't mind just kind of checking in on that for me. Thank you.
And this is it, and that's just Stillwell Clinic?
Yeah.
Councilor Buster?
Yes. Dr. Jones, I got a couple of questions. First of all, as the clinical director, I know we've been out probably 4 months, 5 months without a clinical director, and I know there's plans probably to hire one, but where are we on the search to hire?
So we have an interim.
And who is that?
It's Arowana. Last name off the top of my head.
Okay.
Out of Bonita. She's the deputy administrator there in Bonita.
Okay.
And she's been there for the last 3 weeks, I believe.
Okay.
3 weeks ago is when she took that position as interim. We've had some issues, the way our system works, until there's a resolution on someone when they leave that you can't open that position. So we've had to work through that, because that position hasn't been eligible to be opened until recently.
That's news to me, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear why, because I'd wonder why. So I didn't know that.
Yeah, it wasn't that we just didn't want to put somebody there, but until
Well, that's
resolution
good
is done.
information. I didn't know there's a policy like that. Okay, so if I need to visit with Arowana, is she there on a daily basis? Okay, I'll go by and visit with her. The other thing is behavioral health there. I've had some information that our behavioral health system there at the J Clinic is 2 months behind on booking people. You can't get an appointment for 2 months. Wanted to make you aware of it to see if we can't get that changed, because, and I know everybody around the table knows you got people that they need to see somebody today.
Right.
The standard answer is, we don't have any appointments open. The person is not bold enough to say, well, I need to see somebody today. They just take it and go on. I guess my point is, what I'm getting at is, those intake persons should do more scrutinizing the patient that comes in as to why they need to see him. And I don't think that's happening, not only in behavioral health, but I think it is all happening in the medical side. We got people out there that they do a good job as far as registering people and getting them in, but they don't even make it to the triage nurse, because they just say, we don't have any more appointments. A lot of our citizens will just take that and go on, knowing that they're hurting really bad. And I have an experience with my family member. He had broken ribs. Well, he didn't get in to see him. And I blame that on not being able to see the triage nurse. Matter of fact, he did see the triage nurse, but I don't think they went far enough when they questioned somebody, because a lot of our citizens can, I guess, tolerate a lot of pain, and they don't take it. I just wish we had somebody that would take and and dig down a little bit deeper to make sure they're getting what's wrong with those people and get them in. I guess what bothers me the most is when that person goes up there, they say, well, there's no more appointments available. They just walk away. And they're hurting and need to see somebody. But I don't know if we need more training for our intake people to say, well, you know, do you really need to see the doctor today or what? But I think you know what I'm getting at. So I wish we would work on that some as far as the intake goes. Because a lot of our people, and I'm probably the same way, I go in, I'm hurting, and they say there's not an appointment, I'll probably just say, okay, go on. But anyway, I've heard that a lot, that we get turning people away that need to see the doctor.
I know that they do have an intake process in behavioral health that rates, you know, the level of what that person needs.
And I'm not,
but we may need to look at it again.
and I bet you do, but I'm probably that intake person that's sitting there at the desk probably doesn't do that. So I wish you would put some emphasis on that.
I know that Jay's behavioral health, I mean, we do get a report every month, and the people at Jay are working really hard. They're one of the busiest behavioral health clinics that we have. We're looking at ways to take some of the pressure off at moving some people around to help in that area. So we're aware that there's a need there, and it's just a matter of getting that need met. I've got Ms. Skinner working on that with as the director of behavioral health, and she's starting to pull some of those resources together so that we can move resources around for areas where we need it more.
Good, and you know, I don't bring these up in committee meeting just because I do, but I think we bring it up to be constructive, to where we can help you and the people that run to operate the system better. So the other thing, and I'm not so sure that I'm addressing this to the right person, but I'm going to bring it up here, is when they designed the clinic there at Jay, and I'm sure you probably heard this, the parking lot, it's a long walk for a lot of our citizen patients that have, there's a lot of parking for handicap, and there's parking lot is large, but a lot of patients are not handicapped that have to park way out there, and they have a lot of trouble making it to the front door. So we have the drive up to the front door where they can unload, but a person drives by himself up there and is really having some difficulty. It's hard for them to get to the clinic and get into the door. But what I'd like to see done, and hopefully we can put it in the budget or at least think about it, is a canopy. There's a sidewalk running right down in front of the clinic. It's a sidewalk to put a canopy over the clinic, over that sidewalk. Now I've looked at it, and I don't want to take away from the basket weave that's already on the clinic. If there's some way we had a designer to go in and take a look at it, I think that would really benefit the patients tremendously. Because a lot of times you have rain out there, they've got to walk a long ways in the rain. If you have snow, walk a long ways. So if you'd put that on your radar, and I'll speak to, I guess, facilities also. I'll bring that up to facilities. But that's something that would make a great improvement for our citizens and the people there at the J Clinic. Other than that, I think the clinic is working fairly well. You know, of course, we're going to have ups and downs at every facility, but I've been pretty satisfied with it. But I will go in and visit Arowana about some things as far as maintenance stuff.
She's been there about 2.5, 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Sounds good.
Okay.
And I'm glad you cleared up the new patient chart, because that was one of the questions I was going to ask. And then the Martha Ketcher situation.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Counselor Vasquez.
I was just going to say, yes, thank you, that Arowana is from the Bonita Clinic. Her last name is Leake, L-E-A-K-E.
Oh, okay.
And she's very good at responding. She's an excellent choice for that spot.
Good to hear. Thank you.
Anyone else? I have a question. Three Rivers on August the 9th, the computers were down, and the phone lines were too. Were patients still seen? And if so, what happened to the documentation on those visits?
They have a contingency plan anytime the computers go down to do paper, and then they'll go back and do data entry and put all that back in. Yeah. So we have a contingency plan anytime we have a disruption in service like that.
Do we not have backup generators or something for something like that?
We do in some cases, but in some cases, you know, again, we discussed this once before, the generators fall under a different area than me. So I don't know what the testing procedure and stuff like that is, but most clinics do have backup generators. In some cases, it's not a generator issue. It may be a server and a conductivity with AT&T or somebody like that, where if somebody gets a line cut. I know we had a disruption in service at Hastings because someone digging cut a line. And when they cut that fiber optic line, it took us out for a brief amount of time until we got it back up and running. And there's always a contingency plan to go to paper at that point.
Okay, thank you. Do we refer EGDs to Northeastern Health Systems?
The reads, in some cases, are done there. We do refer some to them. Some are done in our clinics, and some are done with our shared services, which is Cherokee Health Partners.
Do you know if any Cherokee Nation patients were involved in the breach of procedure in disinfecting the scopes?
Yes, there were.
There were. What measures are we taking to help these people?
It's actually Northeastern Health Systems issue, and they've to my knowledge, I know of some of the patients personally that have been notified and had the option to have testing done if they chose to.
Very good. Glad to hear that. The hearing aids. The waiting list is too long. Can you tell me how long it takes to get a hearing aid right now?
Probably takes a long time. Our need is far greater than than what we have services available. I do know we've just hired. I think we've finalizing a contract with another audiologist. The new joint venture building will have 3 booths available. Currently, we just have 1 that we're working out of, so we're going to be able to increase that capacity from day 1.
Wonderful.
What did he say?
What did he say? Could you repeat? What did he say? Okay, Junior. Is Contract Health compatible with Cerner?
Currently, no. Currently, we work out of 2 different systems on Contract Health. It's something that's on the table to get moved into it, but at the way it works currently, and we can talk about all this when we do the orientation, and they can go specifically into the process. The orders are put in Cerner, but the actual payment and the actual appointments are made out of a different system.
Out of a different system?
Yeah.
But we are going to change that really soon, I hope.
We're working on it, yeah.
Very good. By the way, are we still doing anything about a dedicated website? I know we were talking about the formulary, but we really need a dedicated website to post simple explanations and directions. Of course, the formulary too. I've just been made aware that the Eastern Cherokees have a dedicated healthcare website at cherokeehospital.org. Is there any chance we can get something up and running similar?
My understanding is, we have a new website, and we have a portion of that website. We've never had that before, where we've had the ability to put content on it. So we are putting a process together that manages that. We're going to have a committee within our health system that will manage the information that's put on there month to month and plan it out, as well as any new or information that's time relevant. But we just now have been given that, so we're just now getting to that point where we're developing that process. Rather than having one person that's controlling the whole thing, we want a committee that's made up of several people within our health system that will have various ideas and get a plan, so that we're not just picking and choosing things because that's what we feel like that day. So, and we want to keep it relevant, and we want to keep it up to date.
Very good. According to the Oklahoma State University press release, Oklahoma's the epicenter of the nation's opioid epidemic. Can you tell us about the rehab centers, where they're all located in this part of the state that we utilize?
I can get that information from you, but off the top of my head, I can't tell you that. But I can get it
I
for
do
you.
notice in the last week I have had 3 that they thought they were emergencies, and I appreciate Dr. Montgomery I think it was a Saturday evening even, and I'm really grateful for that, stepping forward to help with a young man who wanted help now. And it's been my experience, if you can get someone who wants help in that type of a situation, the faster you get them help, the better off they will be. And I appreciate that, Dr. Montgomery, very much. But I think if any information that we could have available for just a telephone note to read to people or to share, if you all could make that available to us about what their options are or what we could encourage them to do. I, for one, I had been unfamiliar with the fact that we're trying to medically treat them and let them perhaps stay at home even, so with medicine. But if you could give us maybe a tip sheet or something, I don't know if you could possibly arrange that for us,
Okay.
maybe.
We'll try to have that for you by the 23rd, whenever you do the
I think that would be
orientation.
awesome. Listen, are there any other questions? Okay, Counselor Lay.
Not the Cerner system we've had for quite some time. How many years?
I think it,
About 3.
I don't know, what, Dr. Montgomery, when did it go live? Do you know for sure? The Cerner system, do you know when it went live? Is it 2013?
It's about 3 years.
2016 when it went live. I think we started the process earlier, but I think it went live
We
2016.
we know how much we paid for that so far up to date.
I don't, not off the top of my head. It's an ongoing, every time we add something to it, there's a price that goes into it, so I don't have those figures off the top of my head. I know we scrutinize it very well to make sure that we're not paying double for something that we already paid for. And we work pretty hard to hold them accountable to get the stuff done that we've asked them to do and work through the bugs, so to speak. Our system's very unique. It's not something that you can go buy a cookie cutter and say this fits your system. It's a continual development. So as we grow and as we add facilities to it and we add services, those things have to grow and along with it. So I know that and it doesn't fall under health anymore. I mean, it does and it doesn't. We use it, but it's under IT. IT manages it. IT doesn't fall under health anymore. We just have a relationship with IT and tell them what we need, and they work on getting those things for us. But we still pay for it, but it doesn't. But we don't own it.
It's paid for out of health
Yep.
fund, is that correct?
But IT manages it for us or services it and takes care of it for us. So
And so, for these number of years, what it's been, 15 or 16? So we still don't have the outpatient and the health tied in together, service?
no, we do have
I don't understand.
inpatient and outpatient are all the health services internally are tied in. The contract health piece of it is the piece that's not because of the way the payers and the way bills are paid and things of that nature.
Is that our contract health or Claremore's, or that's ours?
It's ours, yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
As far as the hearing aids, is that not part of what's covered under the 5% program? Normal hearing aids, 2 or 3 others.
If I remember right, you guys voted to allow 2 instead of 1. At one time, it was 1 hearing aid, and I think there was a resolution out of this group to do 2 hearing aids. So they are provided when they go through our services and get them. But we don't take. If you went out to someone else outside of our system, then came back, we don't just go purchase hearing aids like that. They have to go through our system, be evaluated, and be assessed, and then we get the government pricing that allows us to buy them at a reduced rate.
And so what's the slow up again? We just don't have enough providers?
Right. Yeah, it's just the capacity and the need, and we're addressing that when the new building opens up. We're going to have 3.
Dr. Junior and I are getting to the age we need hearing aids. We're all getting there, man. So y'all are going to have to.
When we get you on the list.
Seriously, the boomers are at that stage in age, and the ex-millennials are close behind. So somebody needs to kind of go work on it.
Yeah, we've got, and like I said, we finalizing a contract with an audiologist currently, and we'll have we'll have the ability to triple our capacity with this new building.
With our people, with our docs?
Yeah.
Our audiologists?
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Dr. Jones, I want to share with you that once again this month, I didn't have a single medical provider contact me. Congratulations.
Well, that's great.
That's a record since I've been on council. Anyway, if there's no other questions, then I'll take a motion for adjournment.
Announcement.
Yes.
No, I was asked to follow up on our new dental scheduling.
Oh, good.
And this doesn't for Dr. Jones, he's welcome to sit in and on if he wants. But I talked to a couple of tribes that have similar access issues that we do. Keep in mind that we were just concerned about new patient scheduling, not we have our constituents that go in and have a checkup and then they have follow-up treatment that needs to be done. That follow-up treatment's done in a very timely manner. There's no waiting time. It's taken care of. And even after the treatment's completed, they're given a 6-month recall appointment on the spot. So none of that access is there. The access is on the front end, new patient scheduling. And I talked to a couple of tribes here in Oklahoma. One of them has a very similar access issues we have. And I think a lot of our access can be rectified by the new health facility, the new joint venture here in Tahlequah and Wilma Mankiller. I think a lot of that's going to help. But this one tribe's, they're looking to adopt our model on new patient scheduling. So ours is imperfect, but you can trust that our dental personnel have tried other ways. I don't like it particularly in terms of just this narrow window to call for an initial dental appointment, but it seems in total, it seems to be the best way for access at this time. Hopefully with the new joint venture and Stillwell gets up on their feet, it'll rectify a lot of this, but other tribes are looking at what we're doing on new patient scheduling, even though, and they're scheduling like a year out. And locally here, our optometry, if you want to get an optometrist appointment, it's a year out. So, and I think we've tried that dentally on dental appointments where a constituent would call, I need an initial dental appointment. Well, okay, August 2020 is when we've been scheduled. So it's just an access issue. We're not unique. Other tribes, other government entities deal with it as well. But what we're doing now seems to be the best. It's imperfect, but it seems to be the best that we can do to create access for our constituents.
Any other questions? Any other? Yes.
Mr. Carey, could I see you after for a quick? All right, thank you.
Okay, any other announcements? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.